How do I find grants for nonprofits or for my nonprofit? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you three of the most basic yet essential strategies to get you started. This video is for folks who are just starting the process of finding funding or expanding their sphere of funding for their nonprofit, whether you're running the nonprofit or you're a freelance grant writer for one group or multiple groups, or a board member or volunteer. I'm Benjamin Dean from Grants.gov, and I hope you enjoy this video and the others on this channel, which are aimed at helping you get more grants. Be sure to check out the link in the description for additional tips, a free download to help you move forward. So let's jump in. Number one, and really I would say the most important one if you're just getting started is to get a landscape of what's out there, and that is to utilize databases. Okay, so not utilizing Google or chat or anything else, but just start with those that are already aggregating grant opportunities in your space or in any space. Some of the platforms that are easy to use if you're just getting started are things like GrantWatch, Instrumental, and even Candid, which also hosts Foundation Directory. These are great places to start. Now, if you're watching this video, you are actually just starting the process of where to find grants, it is unlikely you are jumping into federal grants. But if you're in a situation where you are, really the only place to go for federal grants in terms of getting comprehensive information, the best place to go is Grants.gov, straight from the source. But if you're just looking at any grants for the nonprofit that you're working with, those that I mentioned are great. Now, in addition to those, and if I was to plug one or two, it would be GrantWatch and it would be Instrumental. GrantWatch and Instrumental are very comprehensive, no matter where you are in the United States. You're going to have more to read, more to look through than you can handle, which there's plenty of other videos on this channel that do and will talk about how to prioritize things. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. But this is number one, just jump into the databases. Every one of these databases has basic search functionality as well as advanced search functionality, meaning that you can jump on with a few keywords or key areas, such as your industry that you're in, your service area, your geography, if you wanted to look at a state level for grants that are specific for your state, typically less competitive, typically more likely if you're just getting in to be able to compete for some of those. But utilizing those search functions very intuitively on each of these platforms is a great place to start. Now, in addition to these, every state has at least one, if not multiple, aggregators of regional grant sources, foundations, and corporate giving entities, family foundations, whatever the case is. Those are great places to start no matter where you are. So where do you go to find that information? Again, almost every state or every state that I'm aware of has, in addition to, or potentially the same organization, a group that aggregates nonprofits for something, whether it's to share best practices, to host conferences, to do workshops and education, sort of a united way type of regional organization that is there to support their geographic areas, community-based organizations, or nonprofits. A simple Google search, and wherever you are, if you are in Montana, you're going to search for Montana, something like Association of Nonprofits or Montana Grants for Nonprofit Organizations. And one of the top hits, one of the first hits on Google are going to be one of these associations. Typically, they are funded by grants or individual donors, and their role is to do some of this work for you, for nonprofits. Okay, so like I said, in addition to aggregating a list, they're likely going to be providing some education, some networking, some other value-added services for the community. But this is where to start. These databases will provide the detailed information on the grants, which will include the eligibility criteria, the deadlines, the application processes, all the basic information that you need at this stage of the research. Using these resources, I can effectively search for grants for multiple nonprofits or just one, and begin that prioritization process to determine where am I going to devote my energy. And again, we'll get into that in other videos. I make sure to use the filters to the degree that these databases allow it. And I pump in keywords. So if you are in a nonprofit, or if you're looking for grants for a nonprofit that's focused on pets, then you're going to try to derive a few different keywords: cats, dogs, pets, pet food, pet assistance, pet food assistance, these sorts of things, shelters, no-kill shelters, kill shelters, pet rescue, animal rescue. You're going to look these keywords up on these databases. If they are a smaller grantor, or a grantor that has a more limited geographic scope, then their breadth of their keywords or words that they're going to use is more limited. So there is a sort of half step in here, which is to just understand what it is you're looking for in terms of your actual nonprofit. Okay, so you're looking at keywords relative to the services that you provide. You're also going to look at keywords relative to the geographic area that you are focused on, delivering those services within. You're also going to look at other things that are more complementary. So particular grants the one that comes to my mind, there's many of these, but a grant that we received for a food assistance provider was one that had zero keywords having to do with food, but the grant was for hosting and facilitating discussions that were inclusive of multiple stakeholders in a community. They were essentially grants provided to nonprofits in many fields that were intended to enhance their programs by getting feedback from multiple constituent groups. Okay, so this is a grant that we found because we knew, as this particular organization was growing up, that we would need to do more focus groups. We would need to do more interviews, more surveys. We would need to get better with data, all these operational things, programmatic feedback, program evaluation type things. Well, we did some searches and we found one using some of that. So having an understanding of the nonprofit's goals and sort of next steps in their organization is pretty critical as well. All right, so grant databases is the place to start. Now, where most people start is number 2, which is networking. And that's also great because this is where you're going to find potentially some of the low-hanging fruit. So networking and building relationships, not just with potential grantors, but with other nonprofits, with other board members, with other people in the community that are involved in nonprofits. You're going to want to network in most areas with organizations like the United Way or community foundations or any of these sort of governing organizations. Governing's maybe not the right word, but support organizations to nonprofits, which also include the cities, the municipalities, the counties, the census designated area that you're in. Many of them will also have lists of grants or know of grants that are commonly received by nonprofits in their community. So this is a critical strategy. And what I hear from people jumping in is they say, hey, I just heard about this grant, right? Somebody told me about this grant, or hey, I just read a press release that somebody that's in my space got this grant and I want to apply for this one grant. And that's awesome. That's a place to start. So Networking is absolutely important, specifically for the smaller, more private grants. So the sort of two different categories. There are small grantors, whether they are a small employer, a business that does a grant program, or a smaller family foundation, or a Rotary Club, let's say, sort of a civic organization, that these grants are probably not going to show up on the big databases. Okay, we're talking, it's 2024, so I'm talking about grants that are under $10,000 for the most part, but of course are very valuable. Some of these grants, the process for even applying to them is not necessarily posted on a website. So a company like GrantWatch or Instrumental, they're not going to really know about that. Okay. Only you're going to be able to find out. You're only going to be able to find out by word of mouth, by people telling you in your community. All right. So that is critically important to find the smaller grants. Anyone that is, say, 15, 20,000 and above in terms of an average gift, that's recurring in nature, they're going to get picked up by these other aggregators for the most part. Okay, so networking and building relationships, there's a lot of reasons you want to do that. So how do you network? Where do you go? These are conferences, workshops, local webinars, even fundraisers for other organizations, just understanding who's in the room. You're able to go to a dinner, you're able to contribute to another nonprofit, you're able to make connections. Okay, not in the sense of like you're going there to poach other people's, funders, but this is where you meet people. You meet people out and about in your community. So engaging with the community, it helps me learn from others' experiences. It helps me open doors specifically to sort of a strategy to how to get grants, which is collaborations. So there'll be many videos on this channel about trends in grant giving. And one of the primary trends, or I should say, preferences that are being sort of up-leveled in terms of priority is collaboration. The two sides of the same coin. One is grantors wanting to reduce redundancies, receiving applications from seemingly similar organizations doing seemingly similar work in a similar area, right? And grantors trying to have to figure out, well, what's the difference between you doing this and you doing this? That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is maybe more positive, which is grantors wanting to see more nonprofits work together. Okay, the barriers to start a nonprofit organization are extremely low. Very, very low. That's why there are millions of nonprofits in the United States. You can start one very, very easily. So once you have your 501c3 and any other sort of certifications and licenses that you need in your area, you can start banging away at grants, and anybody can do it. So collaborations are a way that you can differentiate yourself in terms of receiving funding, but just as importantly, actually strengthening your program by working closely, say, with another organization. If you're a newer organization and you're saying, well, gosh, how in the world would I collaborate with another organization? They've got hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in the bank and they're rolling. They've been going for 20 years. Why would they want to work with me? Well, they're playing the same game you are. All right. So if you're in a space that's complementary to theirs and you're serving a similar audience, or you're serving the same type of client, or you have similar outcomes of your services, that is a wonderful opportunity to have a conversation and do some research about collaborative grants. Okay. And the only way you're going to start those things and start to build trust is if you get out there and you are known in your community. Okay. So that's 1 and 2. And really, this is most of it. 1, databases. 2, networking. You're going to find most of the grants that are available. Number 3 is really a next step in the prioritization processes. It's a mindset thing. It is a research tool, and it's also a talking point. So it's all 3 of these things. And that is to align your organization or understand the alignment between your organization and the funder's priorities. Okay. This is first level cuts, right? It's very intuitive. This is very basic, but as somebody who's worked on both sides of this and been on review committees and all of this, you would be very surprised about how many people just throw out grant applications, and what they do has nothing to do with what is stated in the RFA, request for applications, or RFP, request for proposals. So once you've identified some grants, it's unlikely you're going to be able to apply for all of them. So you're going to need to prioritize in some way, whether that's deadline based or, Sally told me I should really apply for this one, and I really trust Sally because she used to be on the review committee and she says I'm a perfect fit. That's great. That's enough. But if you're doing sort of that blue ocean research, and you will find this, a lot of different grant opportunities for you, you're going to have to prioritize. The number one thing you do is look at what it is that you do, what it is that the funder wants, and how much of a link is there. So this is a relative analysis. So it doesn't matter if you assign a point value or you say it's high or low or whatever. All that matters at this point of your research is that you're sort of rank ordering. If you go out there through networking and through databases and you find 20 potential grants, they're all due in the next 5 or 6 months, well, you might be able to get them all done, but more than likely you're going to pick a few of them that you're really going to target. This channel is going to have a whole bunch of information for you about those processes and what you can do, but this is a first step. By clearly showing in the application that your organization's already established objectives for your program or project align with the funder's priorities, you'll make your proposals more compelling and more relevant to them. The inability to do that just pretty much knocks you out of the game, and you're going to be wasting your time. Okay, so those are the 3 steps: databases, into networking, and then just a cursory alignment of your organization and that organization as a funder. So by doing this, I can successfully find grants for any organization. These strategies help me navigate the grant landscape and secure the funding that I need for whatever project we're working on. So for more tips, download the free resource. It's in the description, 10 essential tips for finding grants for nonprofits. This is a great starting point if you're just getting out there, you're just looking for grants. There's 7 other tips on there to help you get going in the right direction. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, subscribe. There's a little prompt in the comment box below. If you have questions, please pop them to me, and I would love to respond. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.